Ben Davison says that he was shocked that Tyson Fury was able to stop Deontay Wilder. Well, you and me both, bruv. I did not expect that at all. So I'm going to quote Ben Davison directly here. He said, "From working with him, I obviously know Tyson's a versatile fighter, but for him to be able to be that versatile really did surprise me. I didn't think it would end by stoppage or be as emphatic as that. It shocked me, in complete honesty, and I'm sure Tyson shocked himself." All right, so those are the words of Ben Davison. Now, of course, that's significant because Ben Davison does know Tyson Fury. He's been with him for many, many years as a personal friend and his former trainer. And so what this tells you is that he didn't see anything of Tyson Fury in the gym or of Tyson Fury in the fights that he worked with him previously to suggest that he could fight the way he did against Deontay Wilder and get those kind of results. Now, I can't speak any more in depth than that for Ben Davison, but the reason I was so surprised and shocked by the manner in which Tyson Fury went about the job and how successful he was fighting that way is because all the other times I've seen Tyson Fury fight on the front foot and try and apply pressure to his opponents, he hasn't looked very impressive. The times when Tyson Fury's looked impressive is when he's using movement, on the back foot, jabbing, switching, all that kind of stuff, very impressive. But the times I've seen Tyson Fury on the front foot prior to the Wilder rematch, for example, was against Steve Cunningham. And against Steve Cunningham, he looked about as graceful as an elephant on the front foot. He was just putting his hands up, walking forward in straight lines, very big, very cumbersome, easy to hit. There wasn't much sophisticated about what Tyson Fury was doing against Steve Cunningham. And same thing against Otto Wallin in his last fight. He was similar against Wallin as he was against Cunningham. There was nothing sophisticated about the way he was going about the job. Now, some people are going to say, well, he didn't have to be sophisticated. That's true, but you can only go on what you've seen a fighter do before. You know, John Fury talked about this in the round table where he was going back and forth with David Haye. He said, "You guys don't know what my son's capable of because he hasn't shown it in the ring yet. I know what he's capable of, but you guys don't know what he's capable of." And indeed, John Fury wasn't lying. Now, again, people are going to say, you should have listened to John Fury. Well, John Fury is Tyson's dad. You know how many fathers of fighters have been waxing lyrical about their sons? The father is not the most impartial person, is he? So I tend to take what fathers say about their sons with a grain of salt. Yeah, nothing personal against John Fury, but that's how a lot of fathers tend to behave, like Angel Garcia, like Ruben Guerrero. You know, they tend to go a little overboard and believe their son can beat King Kong. If there was somebody neutral, let's say Manny Stewart was still alive and he wasn't training Tyson Fury, but he'd seen behind the scenes things that Fury could do, and Manny Stewart said, you know what, I think he can beat Wilder on the front foot, I would have sat up and taken a lot more notice if someone like Manny Stewart had said it or someone similar. But as I say, there was nothing in Tyson Fury's previous history that led me to believe that he had the front foot skills necessary to beat Deontay Wilder the way he did, because he fought, as I've said in a previous video, like a classic Kronk fighter. The way he was controlling distance with his footwork, keeping Wilder on the end of the jab, keeping him under pressure without being reckless. Then once he got into punching range and he got Wilder up against the ropes, he knew Wilder wasn't dangerous off the ropes. He knew that he could go to town on him, bully him, getting him in headlocks in the clinches and stuff like that, really sapping his energy. A fantastic tactical display by Tyson Fury. Completely shocked me, completely shocked Ben Davison, completely shocked David Haye. The fact that Fury's former trainer is shocked says it all. I mean, the Furies themselves, as much as they know boxing, they've also been guilty of underestimating certain fighters, writing certain fighters off. Anthony Joshua being a prime example. Both Tyson Fury and his dad John picked Charles Martin to beat Anthony Joshua. Tyson even placed money on it, and he said that Charles Martin would win by knockout. And they were basing this on the fact that AJ in his previous fight had struggled against Dillian Whyte. And John Fury was so shocked by how easily AJ dealt with Charles Martin that he suggested the fight was fixed. Or at least he implied, should I say, that the fight was fixed. And of course, the Klitschko fight, another one where at least one of the members of Team Fury, I think it might have been John, picked Klitschko to win. Also, the Joseph Parker fight, John Fury was on camera in a YouTube interview saying Eddie Hearn would never let AJ go anywhere near Joseph Parker because Parker would destroy him, words to that effect. And of course, most recently, Tyson Fury predicted that Andy Ruiz would beat AJ again. He said AJ can't box any other way. He can't box on the back foot. So of course, he underestimated AJ's ability to switch it up and do something different. Many people did. John Fury did. So at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. The Furies are not behind the scenes in AJ's training camps, seeing what he's doing in sparring against various different fighters, seeing what he's experimenting on. So they didn't realize that he was actually more versatile than they were giving him credit for. Perhaps they hadn't seen anything to make them believe he had that kind of versatility. Yeah, so it can happen to anybody. You can underestimate someone because, as I say, you haven't seen a particular thing that they can do. But Tyson Fury really is a guy that is full of surprises, I have to say. Is there any other styles that he can box successfully? Maybe there is. I'm tentative to dismiss Tyson Fury's ability to fight in other styles after what I've just witnessed. Because, yeah, people are going to say, you should have known he was going to fight the Kronk style when he hooked up with Javon Sugar Hill. Learning a style usually takes a long time. It's not something most fighters can pick up and implement in a high-level fight under immense pressure in one training camp. Very few fighters can do that. Tyson Fury fought with a style that he'd never fought in before, but he did it with the confidence of a man who'd been fighting that way his whole life. That's what's so incredible about it. That's why Ben Davison was shocked. That's why I was shocked. That's why David Haye was shocked and many other people. Not the fact that Fury won. I mean, a Fury win was conceivable. But of course, the other shocking thing was the weight. And again, this is something John Fury talked about. Ben Davison was always trying to get Tyson Fury light. I guess he was trying to emulate what Peter Fury had Tyson doing. And John Fury, the dad, was once again saying, no, it's silly. Tyson is weak at that weight. He needs to be 19 stone or whatever. Ben Davison clearly didn't believe that was the best thing to do. I clearly didn't believe it. David Haye didn't believe it. John Fury knew his son better than anybody. And evidently, Tyson Fury looked way better at 273 pounds than he looked at 255 against Otto Wallin. Yeah, I guess we do have to look at these fights now against the likes of Otto Wallin and say, even here, Tyson Fury was weak. He wasn't at full strength. You know, John Fury knew. Yeah, he's supposed to know because he's the dad, but he knew. And going forward, I'm going to assume that Tyson Fury will probably be this weight for most of his fights now, in the 270s, high 260s, maybe up to the high 270s. And if he's got that kind of energy and that kind of movement and speed, 270, etc., there's no reason for him to lose weight again, unless there comes a time when there's an individual who Tyson Fury just can't stand and trade with or can't stay in the pocket with, someone who's very physically strong. I mean, it would be interesting to see, for example, how Tyson Fury would fight somebody like Jarrell Miller. Now, we need to see what Jarrell Miller's like off the juice. But Miller, of course, is an ESPN fighter like Tyson Fury. So that's a possible fight in the future. Jarrell Miller is even bigger than Tyson Fury in terms of weight, over 300 pounds. Would Tyson Fury try and push Jarrell Miller back? A guy who's even heavier than he is, potentially even stronger than he is, because Tyson Fury looked tremendously strong in there. Would he try to push Miller back, or would he try and box again? Go back to the Tyson Fury who fought Klitschko, who fought Wilder the first time, that kind of thing. Would he do that against Miller? Would he do a mixture of both? I don't know. It'd be intriguing to see how he would approach that fight and what kind of weight he would be. Would he just come in at 273, 275 against Miller? Or would he drop it down and, maybe get a bit of extra speed to exploit Miller's size and weight and all that kind of business. Not being able to be as mobile as Tyson Fury is. So yeah, just some thoughts on that. I'm I'm as shocked as Ben Davison is by the way he went about his job. Tyson Fury is clearly an extremely fast learner. How he managed to pick up that Kronk style in such a short space of time and be confident enough to use it against a puncher like Wilder, incredible. The Tyson Fury I'm used to seeing on the front foot is like the one who fought Cunningham and the one who fought Wallin. And, some people are going to say, well, Tyson Fury is a guy who rises to the occasion. He fights to the level of his opposition. So you should have known that he would be better against Wilder in the rematch than he was against Wallin and people like Cunningham. But, rising to the level of opposition, that doesn't mean you switch up your whole style. Do you know what I mean? Generally, when you rise to the level of opposition, it means you're faster, you're sharper, you're more mentally switched on. You might punch a little bit harder, but you don't completely change up your style to a style you've never used before. That's not normal when it comes to fighting to the level of opposition. But that's what Tyson Fury did. He is an extraordinary fighter. Whether he has the consistency at world level to go on to be, one of the top 10, top 5 heavyweight champions of all time, that remains to be seen because that does require consistency. Tyson Fury, of course, has got 2 tremendous wins on his resume now over Klitschko and both on foreign soil. That's what makes the wins even better. They were both on foreign soil against Klitschko and against Deontay Wilder. But because Tyson Fury is what in Britain they refer to as a buzz fighter, a fighter who fights to the level of opposition, then there's still that question about whether he can maintain the consistency because it's not always going to be big fights against the Wilders and AJs and these big names. There are going to be mandatories. There are going to be voluntaries. If Tyson Fury can't get himself up for some of the in-between fights when he's not in a super fight, that's where he might be most vulnerable, believe it or not. That's where, let's say he gets cut again by somebody like an Otto Wallin or, a fighter of that type of level, and they stop it. And maybe the guy was messing Fury around and landing a few jabs. They go to the cards and Fury loses. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he's just really complacent for a particular fight. Is in there with somebody whose power he doesn't respect, and all of a sudden, bang, Fury catches one and gets knocked out. It's heavyweight boxing, folks. These things happen. I always look back at boxing history and all the previous eras of heavyweight boxing I've lived through, because history does repeat itself, So maybe Tyson Fury is better than all the heavyweights I've seen before in the past. In my lifetime, it remains to be seen. And if he is better, then of course the stuff I've seen before may not apply to Tyson Fury. But as it goes right now, I'm going to draw on what I've witnessed in the past in the heavyweight division. And I'm going to continue to say that I think all of the top heavyweights are going to lose. Now, Wilder and Joshua have both lost. I think Fury's going to lose too. I don't know who to, but again, the reason I'm saying it is because of what's happened in the heavyweight division in the past. I've seen Lennox Lewis lose twice, Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Holyfield, Larry Holmes. I've seen all these great fighters lose. And at the time when they were at their zenith, at their peak, there were many people who thought that some of these fighters were invincible, particularly Mike Tyson. The aura of invincibility that Mike Tyson had is like nothing I've ever seen before in any weight division in the whole of boxing. You see the way people think that, or people used to think that Mayweather was invincible, or even recently, the way certain Wilder fanboys thought Wilder was invincible. I mean, there was a time when AJ fans thought he was invincible. Name any fighter you want, Mayweather, whoever. None of them even come close to the aura of invincibility that Mike Tyson had in the mid to late 80s. It was incredible. People literally believed that there wasn't a human being alive, irrespective of what martial art they practiced, there wasn't a human being alive who could beat Mike Tyson in any kind of fight, in or out of the ring. That was the prevailing belief that most people had about the man. He was like the epitome of a tough guy and a dangerous man. The Mike Tyson hype was absolutely extraordinary. So when you've seen a guy like that get taken down, it doesn't seem so far-fetched for somebody like me who lived through all that. It doesn't seem so far-fetched to see a Tyson Fury get taken down, or a Wilder or an AJ or any of these guys. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen great fighters get taken down before. Fighters who were just looking dominant as hell. You know, when Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas, he'd never been dropped before. Tyson Fury's been dropped. Tyson Fury's got a draw on his record. Mike Tyson had never been in a particularly competitive fight, and he was undisputed champion. People thought this was literally the baddest man on the planet. The Buster Douglas fight was his 10th defense. So, again, the aura of invincibility, he hadn't shown as much vulnerability as Tyson Fury had shown in his career. And yet he got taken out, you know? Lennox Lewis, obviously, great fighter. He certainly did show some vulnerability. He lost a couple times, and he had some tough fights against Ray Mercer. That was a tough fight for him. The Zelko Mavrovich fight was pretty tough. Shannon Britt, you know, he had tough fights, Lennox Lewis. Lewis never had a title run where he looked as dominant as Mike Tyson did in the mid to late 80s. And I think a lot of that was to do with the fact that Lewis was in a more competitive division in the 90s than Tyson was in the mid to late 80s. But nonetheless, as I say, he just looked so dominant, Mike Tyson. When you've seen someone like that get taken out, in your head, you think anybody can get taken out. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I think, because, again, Lewis knocked out by McCall, knocked out by Hasim Rahman, people who he wasn't supposed to lose to. Lewis beat people better than McCall and Rahman, both before and after those fights. You know? Holyfield, when he knocked out Buster Douglas, fought George Foreman, nearly got knocked out by Burt Cooper, fought Larry Holmes and struggled. Then he fought Riddick Bowe and lost. A lot of people wrote Holyfield off at that point. Came back, beat Riddick Bowe in a tremendous performance in the rematch. In fact, he fought Alex Stewart first. He rematched Alex Stewart, then he fought Riddick Bowe. Then, right after his career best performance in the Bowe rematch, he lost to Michael Moorer. It's like the heavyweight division was constantly in flux. Nobody could seem to keep hold of the titles for very long. And again, I suspect this era is going to be the same. We've already seen Wilder now lose. We've already seen AJ now lose. How long before Fury loses? I think the only way that Fury is going to get out of boxing without taking a loss as well is if he retires early, is if he just sticks to what he's been saying over the past, let's say, year or so, takes on maybe Dylan White, AJ, fights Chisora again, and then retires. If he does that, then he might actually have a chance of going down as a unique champion who's conquered the division, become undisputed, and then retired without taking a loss. But if he continues to fight on for, let's say, another 5-6 years, I'm expecting him to take a loss, at least one, based upon what I've seen in the heavyweight division before, you know. But anyway, I should have probably made that into a separate video because I'm way off topic at this point. I was talking about how Ben Davison was surprised about Tyson Fury stopping Wilder. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's Hatman, I'm out. Hatman merch is now available. We got t-shirts, vests, hoodies, and more. Just click the link below. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.